Hi, and welcome to Cenario, your partner in mental wellness. Here on our channel, we share educational, insightful, and science-backed content to help you understand your mental health and take meaningful steps toward a more balanced life. If you're ready to learn, grow, and take control of your wellness journey, let's jump right in.
You know, when we think about depression, our minds usually go straight to emotional struggles. But what if I told you that the very first warning signs might not be in your head at all? What if they're in your body? Today, we're going to explore how physical symptoms can be the first and sometimes the loudest signals that something's wrong. So, just think for a second. Have you ever felt completely wiped out for weeks on end, even when you're getting enough sleep? Or maybe you've been dealing with this nagging back pain that just has no obvious cause. These aren't just random annoyances, you know? They can be really important messages from your body. Let's dive in and figure out what they mean. Okay, so first up, we got to understand why these physical signs are such a big deal. We tend to think of them as secondary to the emotional stuff, but in a lot of cases, they are the main alarm system. And this is where it gets really interesting. It suggests that our bodies can be waving a huge red flag long before our brain consciously catches up and labels feelings as sadness or hopelessness. If we ignore these physical signs, it can mean a major delay in getting the right kind of help. And it's just so easy to miss them, isn't it? We tell ourselves, oh, I'm just stressed from work, or, well, I guess this is just what getting older feels like. You might even go to the doctor, they run a bunch of tests, find nothing physically wrong, and you're sent home, all without ever talking about your mood. And that is exactly how depression can hide in plain sight. So let's put on our detective hats for a bit. We're going to unmask the most common physical clues that your body might be sending your way, and we'll learn how to decode exactly what they're trying to tell us. All right, our first clue is one of the most common ones out there, a serious disruption to your sleep. And I'm not just talking about having one or two bad nights here. No, we're talking about a pattern that just won't quit. Waking up at, say, 4 in the morning and just staring at the ceiling, unable to fall back asleep, that's a classic sign. Or maybe you're getting a full 8 hours, but you wake up feeling like you haven't slept a wink. When that kind of thing goes on for weeks, especially when it's paired with a low mood, that's a really significant signal. Now, our second clue often goes hand in hand with poor sleep, and that's a deep, persistent fatigue. This is a kind of bone-deep weariness that feels totally different from just being tired. You know how with regular tiredness, a good night's sleep or a lazy weekend usually helps you bounce back? Well, with this type of fatigue, rest doesn't even seem to make a dent. Suddenly, simple things like loading the dishwasher can feel like you're being asked to climb a mountain. Okay, next up is a clue that's a bit of a shapeshifter because it can point in two completely opposite directions. Major changes in your appetite and, as a result, your weight. For some people, depression just completely nukes their appetite. Food loses its flavor, eating feels like a chore, and they start losing weight. But for others, it's the total opposite. It triggers cravings for comfort foods. And that, combined with having less energy to be active, can lead to weight gain. The key here is any sustained change. Our fourth clue is the one that actually sends a lot of people to the doctor's office in the first place, those chronic, unexplained aches and pains. We're talking persistent headaches, a back that's always sore, or just general muscle aches that have no obvious cause, like an injury. And this really shows you just how powerful that mind-body connection is. This isn't just all in your head. Your brain uses the exact same chemical messengers to manage both your mood and your pain signals. So when your mood is low, those pathways can get all out of whack, which basically turns up the volume on pain signals all over your body. So now that we've seen all the clues, let's start connecting the dots. Because these symptoms, they don't just exist on their own. They actually feed into each other, creating this really powerful and hard-to-break cycle. Let's just walk through this for a second. Imagine your back starts hurting. Because it hurts, you stop doing things you enjoy, like going for walks or seeing friends. That isolation makes your mood sink. Then that low mood actually makes you more sensitive to the pain, so the pain gets worse. And when the pain is worse, you withdraw even more. You see how that can spiral? Breaking this loop means you have to address both your body and your mind. Now, while that feedback loop is a really common pattern, the clues themselves can look pretty different from person to person. Things like your age and even your gender can change how these physical symptoms actually show up. So, for example, with kids and teens, the clues often look more like irritability, stomach aches, or headaches, not necessarily that classic sadness. And for older adults, it might show up as vague aches, moving a bit slower, or even some cognitive fuzzy-headedness that's way too easily dismissed as just getting older. Recognizing these differences is so important for spotting the signs in ourselves and in the people we care about. Okay, we've identified the mystery, we've looked at the complexities, so what now? Let's talk about some practical, real-world steps you can actually take to start solving it. The first, and maybe the most powerful tool, is actually super simple. It's just observation. We call it symptom monitoring. Basically, it's about becoming a scientist of your own experience, gathering the data so you can see the real patterns, instead of just getting lost in the noise of daily feelings. And look, this doesn't have to be complicated at all. A simple log in a notebook or an app on your phone is perfect. Just jot down, how'd you sleep? Rate your energy on a scale of 1 to 5. Notice any pain? If you track this stuff for just 2 to 4 weeks and you see a clear, persistent negative pattern, well, that's not just a feeling anymore. That is solid information you can bring to a doctor to help them understand what's really going on. And along with getting professional advice, these little steps can start to break that nasty feedback loop we talked about. A small movement goal, we're talking even just a 5-minute walk, can help regulate those mood-affecting brain chemicals. Keeping your sleep schedule consistent helps stabilize your body's internal clock. By tracking your symptoms and looking for integrated care, you're treating the whole system, not just one isolated part of it. So when is it time to see a professional? Well, the guideline is pretty clear. If you have several of these physical symptoms, they've been sticking around for a few weeks, and they're seriously getting in the way of your life, your work, your relationships, your day-to-day, it's time. It's not about jumping to conclusions. It's about getting clarity and ruling out any other potential causes. You know, our bodies are in constant communication with us. The real challenge is learning how to listen and how to tune into the right signals. So just take a moment and ask yourself, what is your body trying to tell you?
Thank you for watching Cenario. If this video helped you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. For personalized mental wellness supplements, visit Cenario.com. See you in the next one.